Alright, so we're just about halfway through the year 2022, so let's talk about my favorite movies of the year so far. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben. On this channel, I love to talk about movies and TV, and if you also love to talk about movies and TV, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. If you couldn't already tell from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about my favorite movies of the year. Remember, these are my favorite movies of the year. These are not going to be your favorite movies of the year. This is a subjective list. It's just my opinion, but I would love to hear what your favorite movies of the year are down below in the comment section. So far, I've seen 48 2022 releases, so it's kind of hard to pick my top 15. And one last thing, take this list as of right now with a grain of salt. My list at the end of the year is probably going to be pretty different. There's going to be more movies. I'm going to rewatch these movies too, and they will move around on the list. There's going to be some hot takes on here too, so just get ready. But starting off with our honorable mentions, we have Belle, a stunningly animated movie that I found myself really enjoying. At number 14, we have After Yang, a film that I saw at Sundance from Kogonada. It's a fascinating watch. It's a beautiful meditation on love and loss. No one's really talking about this one, and if you have the patience for a slow-moving movie, I would recommend this one. At 13, we have a remake. That's the Father of the Bride movie that premiered on HBO Max. This movie was just a delightful surprise. I thought it took the original story and made it even better, more relatable in my opinion, and that's why I think it's actually better than the original too. At number 12, we have an A24 film, but not the only A24 film on this list. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This movie is an absolute gem. If you haven't seen this one, I would highly recommend it. It's bursting with heart and has some absolutely hilarious jokes. Go into this one not knowing much, and I feel like you'll come out of it totally surprised. And our last honorable mention, Fresh, starring Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones, is truly one effed up movie. It has twists and turns, and it'll keep you on the edge of your seat throughout. But coming in at number 10 is Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Talk about a movie that caught me by surprise. I wasn't even looking forward to this one, but I wanted to check it out, see if it was any good. And I came out in love. I was laughing from start to finish. And the cameos and Easter eggs, oh my god, there are cameos and Easter eggs galore. Within every frame of this movie, there's something to look for. But also something that you have to talk about is the fact that Disney actually greenlit this movie. This movie makes fun of Disney multiple times. Not only Disney, but other studios and other movies that have come out. I would call this essential viewing for any movie fan, not just only looking for the cameos and stuff like that, but you'll find you're loving the characters, and the voice performances as well are awesome. Bravo Disney for giving us a fun movie. At number 9, we have a very underrated movie that no one really talks about. That's The Outfit. If you're a fan of Hitchcockian thrillers from the 50s or 60s, this one is totally up your alley. It's absolutely terrific. I was genuinely surprised as to how much I enjoyed it by the end of it. The performances are spectacular, Mark Rylance and Zoe Deutsch, but the movie packs twists and turns very similar to Fresh. This one will keep you on the edge of your seat even more. They're clever twists that I didn't even see coming, and it's another movie that I would recommend going into it fairly knowing very little. It starts off slow, but once you get into the second act, I was hooked. Plus, the set design is a character within itself, and it has a great sense of atmosphere. Do yourself a favor and check out this movie. No one's talking about it, and I really hope that you enjoy it. At number 8, one of the few horror movies that really worked for me, The Black Phone. This is one of my most anticipated movies going into the year, so I was so happy to come out of it in love. It's an excellent horror thriller. If you talk about performances, Ethan Hawke and the two main kids, Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw, not only do they have that brother-sister bond, and the chemistry between them is a standout, but Ethan Hawke, like I mentioned, it's arguably the best we've ever seen a performance from him. Instead of being just a disposable, straightforward thriller, it adds a supernatural element. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about. And I think it could have given a couple more answers to the supernatural elements. But if you want a movie that has good jump scares, this one has them. Now here's where it starts to get tricky, because all these movies I love, but it was hard to rank them. And again, just take this ranking with a grain of salt. I simmered on my thoughts, but I think over time, and especially towards the end of the year, I'm going to rewatch all these movies to solidify my thoughts. But we get into the top 7. Coming in at number 7 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I know you're probably thinking there are movies that you liked more than this one, because this movie is hailed as being like a masterpiece, everyone's favorite of the year. It's not quite my favorite, but that does not mean I did not enjoy it. Because this movie is creative, it's messy, but it's beautiful. It somehow managed to capture the essence of what life is. The Daniels, who are the writer and directors of this movie, crafted a film that continuously had me in awe of the insanity, but that's a good thing. I can't imagine having some gummies with this one. Michelle Yeoh is great, but Ke Huy Quan, it's his return to movies. And after being in some 80s classics, he returns and comes back with a bang and a terrific performance. I hope this movie gets recognition from the Academy. Because of how different it is, it's not really a movie you would think that the Academy would recognize. My biggest takeaway from this movie is how different it was. It's unlike anything you will see all year, maybe ever. It's a movie that I definitely want to rewatch soon. At number 6, we have a movie that got widely released in 2022, so that's why I'm counting it for this list. The Worst Person in the World. This is the only foreign film to crack my list. When I finally got around to checking it out right before the Oscars, I knew I had to see it. This film hit hard. I adored the script and the writing from people that I'm gonna butcher their names, Trier and Vogt. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but also Renette Rienz and Anders Danielson Lee. God damn, their performances, the chemistry they have together, their characters, so good. A couple of the monologues in this movie are heartbreaking. You'll probably cry. It's an unconventional rom-com romance movie. I would hesitate to even call it that, but it's a fascinating and real look at relationships. This is not your typical, oh, they're gonna fall in love because of circumstances. No, this is about relationships and the people in those relationships and how they can grow apart over time. I thought Trier showcased all of that brilliantly through his writing and directing. I have one minor issue with one of the chapters. This movie is split up into chapters. This is a fantastic film that I cannot recommend enough. At number 5, we have one of the 2 MCU movies, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now this one I know is a hot take, but wait till you see my number 4. But anyway, I loved this movie, the fresh new take on the not only MCU franchise, but also has Sam Raimi's flair. It has some horror. Sam Raimi's direction is wonderful. He brings some brilliant moments. I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Olsen, not only as an actress, but also her performance as Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch. And to see her grow throughout this movie, continuing her arc that was started in WandaVision, there are some heartfelt moments, some heartbreaking moments, but also this movie gets gruesome too. It's arguably the movie in the MCU that most pushes that PG-13 rating. I love that. They definitely underutilized some characters, but I feel like that was intentional. And by that I mean this is not the last that we're gonna see of those characters, if you get what I'm saying. There was just a little hint. I knew all the surprises going in too, unfortunately. That really didn't take anything away from how much I enjoyed the movie. It's a lot of fun and I'm not gonna be ashamed for saying that. But at number 4, a highly divisive MCU film, Thor: Love and Thunder. I know, this is like blasphemy that I'm even putting this in my top 5, but I'm a sucker for MCU movies, and when they're done right, I'm gonna love them. And this one was done right. I loved it. I wasn't totally won over at the start. I thought it was just good, but then there's a specific turning point in the movie. But then I realized that this is the movie that I wanted to see, with the comedic moments, the heartfelt moments, the heartbreaking moments. My number 1 favorite actress and probably my biggest Hollywood crush is Natalie Portman, and to have her back in the MCU being better than she's ever been in the cinematic universe, I obviously adored. Chris Hemsworth too, but Christian Bale is arguably one of the best villains we've seen in this universe. And after almost 30 movies, that's saying a lot. Taika Waititi is very much so a man who is under fire now because people either love his work or dislike it heavily. And that is especially relevant with Thor: Love and Thunder, but it worked for me. The icing on the cake for me was the perfect blend of comedy and heart. This is another one that I can't wait to rewatch. But before we get into the top 3, again, make sure to let me know your list. What movies did you love the most so far this year down below in the comment section? And when I said ranking the top 7 was hard, ranking the top 3 was arguably even harder, because this is kind of a toss-up it's like a 3-way tie for my favorite movies of the year. But at last, I still had to rank them. Coming in 3rd place is the sequel almost 40 years in the making, Top Gun Maverick. If you were to have told me that this movie was going to make my top 3, even my top 10 at the beginning of this year, I would have told you that you were crazy. Because I, by no means, was looking forward to this movie because I'm not the biggest fan of that first movie. But this is a sequel that gave me even more appreciation for that movie. And when talking about this one, Top Gun Maverick is the reason why you go to the movies. Whether you're talking about the aerial action sequences, which are phenomenal. And I've mentioned being on the edge of your seat throughout a couple of these movies, but this one will have you literally on the edge of your seat. Seeing this in IMAX with the sound design, the beautiful direction from Joseph Kosinski, I was genuinely blown away. It's probably the best movie we're gonna get all summer. And Tom Cruise, who is an actor that has had such a great career so far, he might be the best he has ever been in any project in Top Gun Maverick. This is the little underdog that could. This movie has surpassed $1 billion. It is so well deserving of that high praise and the money. It's one of the movies from this year that I love recommending to other people, but just don't give us a third movie. That's unnecessary. Leave Top Gun Maverick to be the perfect movie that it is. In second place, the movie that has made me arguably the most emotional all year, Cha Cha Real Smooth. Holy shit, the best way I can describe my experience with this movie is you're in the water and you see a wave coming, you're at the beach, and the wave is so powerful that it completely overtakes you and you get like swept underneath it and you can't get out. That's my experience with this movie, because I was in awe of not only the movie itself, but the tour de force that is Cooper Raiff, writer, director, producer, actor. He crafted a movie that is so impeccably charming and witty, but also one that will have you in a puddle by the end of it. It is so goddamn heartwarming. The relationship between the characters, not only Cooper Raiff and Dakota Johnson, who Dakota Johnson is superb, but the relationship that Cooper Raiff's character has with the newcomer Vanessa Burkhart, that's some beautiful stuff. This was another movie that I saw at Sundance. It's a movie that I got to see before a good majority of people, and it's one that I couldn't stop talking about, and now that it's out for everyone to see it, it's one that I'm still recommending to anyone. You may not love it as much as I did, but I still cannot recommend it enough. Coming in first place is the movie that I think a lot of people will still say is their #1 favorite movie of the year, The Batman. This movie does have a little bit of an advantage over all the other movies because I have seen it more than once, but The Batman was everything I ever wanted or needed in a not only DC movie, but a Batman movie. It might be the best Batman film that we may ever see because it captures the character from the comics. Especially the detective side of the character, you really see that here. Don't get me wrong, The Dark Knight still holds a very special place in my heart, and it's still my favorite Batman movie, but this is the better Batman story, if that makes sense. It's one part thriller, one part action spectacle, and also the crime drama stuff, that's just the icing on the cake. Matt Reeves' direction is Oscar worthy. The star-studded cast is spectacular. I can't wait to see the other movies that follow up this one. I think this could be in contention. After seeing all 3 movies, I'll have to reevaluate this, but it could be amongst the ranks of like a Lord of the Rings or the Dark Knight trilogy as being one of the best trilogies ever. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but as of right now, The Batman comes in at #1. But guys, that is it. Those are my favorite movies of the year so far. Also, if you guys have any 2022 movie recommendations for me, I've probably missed a lot of them. If there are any that I missed you think I should watch, let me know them in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching this video, and if you did enjoy it, consider giving it a like as well as subscribing and hitting that notification bell to get notified whenever new videos like this go live. Look forward to tomorrow where I'll be talking about my most anticipated movies for the remainder of 2022. Definitely make sure to look out for that. Thank you so much for watching this video again, and my name is Ben. People call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.